Hello, this is Greg Miles. I'm sitting here with Councilman Myron Frasier. I just have a few questions I'd like to ask you because you're running for office again, and I just thought, it would be a good idea if people, knew about their council people and also who's running.
Okay.
So first I would like to get an idea about your background, your life in public service thus far, and that sort of thing.
Just my public background, as far as the city of Southfield, or you don't want me to go all the way back?
I just want to give people an idea of who you are generally.
Okay. Let me start out by saying that I moved to Southfield with my family in 1980. And shortly after I moved into Southfield, I live in Green Dolphin Square subdivision. I got involved in our homeowners association. I've always been really active in volunteer organizations, so that was a natural for me to get involved in the homeowners association. I was active in that for a while, and then the city had an organization. They were forming a committee that would go into low-income seniors and people with physical challenges, homes, to do weatherizing in their homes, because we had a energy crisis, and that was shortly about the middle of 1980. And I joined that group, and we went around to these homes, and we put insulation in attics. We put blankets around their water heaters and put insulation behind the switch plates in their for their light switches and all, to keep keep wind from blowing in and causing them more energy. I was doing that for a while, and then they saw me doing that, and they got me involved in Total Living Commission. So I was on the Total Living Commission, and I was on Total Living Commission for a couple of years, and then I was selected as the chairperson of the Total Living Commission. And as the chairperson of the Total Living Commission, we met periodically with the council, and one day I met one of the council members at the airport, and he said, I've watched the work that you've been doing in the Energy Commission and on the Total Living Commission, and I think that you'd make a good city council person. And I said, I'm sorry, that's way beyond what I want to do. And that's, I don't think I'd be capable of doing that. And he said, and it was Eli Robinson, who was a council member at the time. He said, no, if we get an opening on the council, I'm going to get you appointed. And it turned out in 1992, Denise Alexander, who was a council person, took a job in Washington, left an opening on the council, and he got me appointed to the council. So I was on council. That's how I first got into the council business. And then I ran for council. I didn't have any idea how to run for office. So I ran, and I thought all I had to do was put a few signs out, and everybody said I was doing a good job, so that ought to be enough. And it turned out it was not enough. So the mayor, who was Don Frascier at the time, appointed me to the planning commission. I was on a planning commission and ran again for council and was not successful. But then there was one of the council members, Vicki Goldbaum, was ill, and she eventually passed, and left another opening, and I put my application in for that, and I was appointed the second time. And then from then on, I've been elected to the council. So in the meantime, I do other volunteer work in other organizations around this area. So,
could you mention some of those organizations?
Sure. I'm on the board of Carmanos Cancer Institute, or Carmanos Cancer Center. There are two boards. I was on both boards, and now I'm only on the one board, Carmanos Cancer Center. I'm the board chair of Detroit Executive Service Corps, which is an organization, is DESC, which is an organization that works with other nonprofits to help them build capacity, make them stronger. We show them how to build their board stronger, how to do administrative things better so that the clientele they serve will be served better. I'm also involved with Dominion Family Services, which is one of the toughest nonprofits to raise funds for, because they work with batterers, people that have been adjudicated for domestic violence. And when this person goes to court, and primarily most of them are men, they go to court, the judge will say, you can either go to jail or you can go find out what's causing you to act the way you do. And Dominion Family Services is one of the organizations that the court recognizes as has the ability to help people learn about anger management and how to deal with their emotions so that they can live in a relationship without blowing up. So I do that. I'm on Common Ground. I'm on the board of Common Ground. That's up north in Pontiac, and they work with families in stress, children that have run away from home, families that are under stress, that they have a group that works with people that have either been involved in a homicide, someone that was close to them has been killed, or a suicide, and they have group support groups that they work with, people that have emotional problems. They have a psychiatrist that works with the group that works with them, so that's another thing. I'm very active in my church. I belong to Mitcham Chapel, African Methodist Episcopal. I'm a trustee there, and very active in my church functions, work very closely with the schools. I'm on the committee with the schools that works with businesses. So I do quite a bit of volunteer work outside of being a city councilman.
Great. I was also hoping that you could describe what are your priorities as a city council person. What are the issues that you feel are most important?
The things that I think are most important aren't too different than the other council members. High quality of life for the residents. The quality of life is safety. Make Southfield a safe place. Make Southfield a pretty place. A place that's pleasant for people that come into Southfield, even if they're just visitors, so that when they come into Southfield, they know that they're at a place that the residents and businesses care about. So, and we call it curb appeal.
Excuse
me? Sure. We call it curb appeal. But safety, the police and fire, when people call, the police show up, the fire department shows up, EMS shows up, and we'll stack our track record against any of them. And that's very high on the council's list of priorities. And believe it or not, we are, the infrastructure is also high priority. It's just so happened that with the economy, it's reduced the amount of money that we have to fix the roads. Our roads are in bad shape, but if you go to any community, the roads are in bad shape. But we're trying to find different ways of fixing our roads so that when those people come into the city of Southfield, they not only see nice buildings and nice yards, but they're driving on roads that are smooth. And right now, we've got a lot of work to do, but that is a high priority, and we're really working hard how to find money to fix our roads.
All right. I was also wondering if I could get your opinion on abatements. I know it's a controversial issue that a lot of people have been going back and forth on. I just want to pick your brain about it a bit.
Tax abatements? Yep. I look at tax abatements on a one-to-one basis. I'm not a rubber stamp for tax abatements, and in fact, I've been on the council when we've turned tax abatements down because they didn't do what we felt they should do in order to be approved. Typically, tax abatements are an incentive for a business person to invest in their own business and improve. Now, can tax abatements be hard proven? Not always, but sometimes. And I like to look at tax abatements as using this scenario. We're in competition with other communities, and we have had businesses move to our community because the other community wouldn't give them a tax abatement, which also means that a business can move from our community to another community if they get a better deal. Sometimes we can't stop a business from moving, but what we're trying to do is trying to entice a business to stay in Southfield because that's tax revenue. Tax revenue turns into be police, fire, road revenue, restaurants. People that work at these businesses go to restaurants. They go to the cleaners. They buy gas. So we have to weigh all of these things when a developer or a business comes in and asks for a tax abatement. And like I said, I look at them on an individual basis, but I've voted no on some, but I do think they're an enticement that we can offer the business to stay in the city and improve and spend more money, which is more taxes.
I was also wondering about what went through your mind during the Walmart decision. Again, I also know it was a very controversial decision, and I just want to pick your brain a bit about it.
Okay. Excuse me. I voted no on Walmart. And I voted no on Walmart because I felt that it was too large for the area. It was a big box. It gobbled up all of the property. They had to, in fact, they had to buy the strip center that was just north of the St. Bede's property, and they had to buy that in order to have enough room to put their big box in, and they still didn't have enough parking. They had to have they had a relationship with the funeral home to allow parking in the funeral home, and the funeral home could park it in Walmart's property. But I felt it was just too large for the site, and there was a Walmart on Middle Belt and 96 that years ago was there, and they built another Walmart and left that building set there, and it was no one else could use that space. That was just too large. So they gobbled up all that space. So if they moved out of Southfield, we would have this big box, empty big box sitting there that we couldn't do anything else with. The other thing that went through my mind is Southfield is landlocked. We're almost completely built out, and we're landlocked. So we have to be very, very careful with any space that we have, that we put in the kind of businesses or residents that will make Southfield a better place. And it just so happens, and I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but we do have a new developer that has showed interest in that corner, that same corner, and he has mixed usage, which is what we were looking for. He wants to put in residents, he wants to put in businesses. He's talking with a restaurant to put a major restaurant in there, and that is more of what we were looking for to start with, rather than one gigantic big box that to set down in that corner.
You just got done with the city budgetary process, and I was just wondering what sort of kind of goes into your mind when you're thinking about what the city's going to spend money on or not.
Well, first of all, the police, fire, and EMS gobbles up. I shouldn't say gobbles up. It takes the majority of our general fund, and what's left over, we have to put in infrastructure. We have to make sure that our employees are paid. The rest of the employees are paid. We put in $500,000 as some marketing information, so that we can attract new businesses into Southfield. But again, the security and safety of our residents and businesses is high on our list of priorities. The infrastructure and keeping Southfield a beautiful place that will attract people is what we're going to spend our money on.
I was also wanting to know, how do you personally, and also how does the City Council work with other government agencies? I know you guys bring them in to talk, but I just wanted to get an idea of the relationships that you have with other aspects of government.
Okay. Probably the one that we work the closest with is Lathrop Village. Lathrop Village, we do their fire service. They pay us for it, but we do their fire service. We do their dispatch. They're part of our library system, and of course they're part of the public school system, and we work closely with the public school system too. We have some of our police officers that are liaison officers to the public schools, so that's another government entity that we work with. We work with Farmington Hills on Inkster Road, which is our western borderline. We get the Act 51 money, which is the money that comes from gas taxes, but it's our responsibility. Even though the road, theoretically, the yellow line separates Southfield from Farmington Hills, because we get the Act 51 money, it is our responsibility to maintain the road. And since I've been on council, at least 4 or 5 times, Farmington Hills has come to us that there is a resident that has built a house along Inkster that backs up to Inkster Road, and they can't get water because Farmington Hills water system doesn't come all the way up there, and they ask us if we will run a pipe under the Inkster Road so that their resident can hook up to our water system, and we've done that. And I think 4 or 5 times since I've been on council. So we're the water supplier for some of the Farmington Hills folks. But we work with Beverly Hills on the north end. So we do work with all of the communities around us.
You spoke a bit about it during the Walmart question, but I want to ask in a more broad sense, what do you feel the city's role in development is?
We always are looking for quality development in the city of Southfield. And right now, over in the city center area, we're putting in some lofts. What we're trying to do is we're trying to change our focus from the way it used to be. It used to be that people would move into an area because they had a job, and they would buy a house because they had a job and they wanted to buy a house located close to their place of employment. In today's world, the young people that are moving around first find a place that they like, and it's called placemaking. They find a place that they enjoy being around because it has the amenities that they're looking for. Either social amenities or whatever they're looking for, and once they're there, they look for a job. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to change Southfield to be attractive to the younger people. In the past number of years, young people have moved away from Michigan to other states because Michigan, frankly, didn't have the kind of attractions that would keep them here or attract them to be here. In fact, I have a nephew that left Michigan and went to Chicago because he found a job in Chicago, and he was downsized here in Michigan. He could not find another job here in Michigan, so he had to end up going to Chicago to find employment. And I'm sure other young people are doing that. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to do development that would be attractive to younger people. We're trying to make the city center, and we call that an overlay district. We have 3 overlay districts in Southfield that we're concentrating on in development that will make it a walkable place, some place that would be attractive to not only the younger crowd, because we can't afford to overlook older people too. It's not either or, it's inclusive. So that's what we're trying to do as far as development. We're trying to make it attractive to bring younger people in, and we find that all people are walking more, and they enjoy going to places where they can park their car and walk to different either stores or social places or restaurants, and then get back in their car and go home.
When you were discussing roads a little bit earlier, you talked about how it's harder to put money into certain things. I was wondering if you or anybody else on the council has had any ideas about how to increase city revenues, and also a little bit of a discussion about how the foreclosure crisis and declining home values have affected the city.
Oh, well, let me start out with that one first. The declining home values, the foreclosure problem, first of all, it was all over the country. It hit Michigan extremely hard. We probably were hit almost as hard as any state in the union because of the auto industry. When the economy went down, the auto industry collapsed, and there are so many people that live in Michigan associated with either directly with the big 3 or with businesses that support the big 3, that when the auto industry collapsed, they didn't have any jobs, they lost their houses, they had to go someplace else to find work, and we lost about 6,000 people in Southfield from 2008 through 2010 or 11. So when the census came out, we were down around 6,000, almost 6,000 people that we had lost in the city of Southfield. But the revenue that we get in the city of Southfield comes from the businesses that pay taxes too. 2/3 of our tax base is businesses. So when they were down, our taxes were down. The declining house values, because of the foreclosures, the supply exceeded the demand, so no one would buy the houses at what they were worth. So now they're only worth about half as much as they were prior to 2008. People are buying those slowly but surely. I think the housing market is coming back, but we have this weird thing in Michigan called Proposal A in the Headley Amendment that will only allow us to raise the property taxes 5% or the cost of living, whichever is less. And the cost of living has been around 1%. So it's going to take us 25 years to get back to where we were. So it's going to be a long climb back. But with those property values down, it means that we had less tax dollars to work with. Tax dollars means road dollars. Tax dollars means other things that we spent money on that we couldn't spend money on. But I'm proud of one thing. Between the council, the administration, and the staff rolling up their sleeves and understanding the crisis that we're in and pulling hard, we're down in the city about 25% of the employment that we had prior to 2008, and we haven't laid off one person. It's all because of retirements, people leaving for some other reason, or they found a job someplace else. But we have not laid off anybody. And if you look at the other communities around us, they can't say the same thing. The minute they saw a crisis, the first thing they did was start laying people off. We even, when we had our back against the wall as far as safety, we went to the people and told our story of how we were really trying to make ends meet with smaller money coming in, and they passed a millage to make sure that we had adequate police and fire to keep Southfield safe. And I want to personally thank the voting public for listening and believing in us. And frankly, we've done everything we said that we would do. We promised that we would do. We didn't spend the money on anything else except police and fire. There was a little bit on the library and a little bit, I think, on roads, but the rest of it was on police and fire. And we've kept our word, and we're trying to keep this place as safe as we possibly can.
Within the larger context of the council, what do you feel you bring to the council itself? I mean, what do you feel makes you different from everybody else on the council?
I spent 39 years at the telephone company. I started at the telephone company not right out of high school. It was I worked at another location for about a year, and then I started the telephone company. So I was about 19 years old when I started the telephone company. And I worked there until I retired in 1996. And I feel that I earned an equivalent of a college education working for the telephone company. It gave me an excellent management, not only management, but a non-management education. I started out climbing telephone poles, and I climbed telephone poles for 7 years. And then I had an opportunity to go in work in the central office, and I worked in the equipment in the central office, and then I was promoted into management, and I was in management for about a little over 30 years. And during that 30 years, with the training that we got, the seminars that we went to, and all, I feel that I've got an equivalent of a college education that I bring to the council. I think I have strong management skills. I have common sense, a level head, and one of the things I think that I have that most of the other council members don't have is a sense of humor. And when I was at the telephone company, I was noted. Then they called them Myronisms. When I would come up with some quirky thing to say in a stressful situation that would break the tension and get us back on track. And there are any number of times when we're locked in a battle on council that I can see the temperatures rising of the council members, and I'll interject something that's kind of humorous, or at least I think it's humorous, that will break that tension so that we can get back to what we're doing. And I think that's real important. Otherwise, we could be at odds all the time and never get anything resolved. So I think that's one of the things that I bring, but also common sense and a strong management background.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but I want to get a specific feeling on how you feel about this. What's your relationship with public safety? What do you really do when you have to deal with the police or the fire department?
I think I have a good relationship with both the police and the fire. I have no problem dealing with them. Now, during the last election, the fire department, the fire union, took out some ads that don't elect Myron Frasier. And there was a misunderstanding. I ended up talking to the president of the union when the ads came out, and he apologized because there was a misunderstanding. He didn't understand. He thought that I was against the SAFER grant, which I was not against the SAFER grant. I was against the way the SAFER grant was written at that time because I felt the federal government was putting us in a situation that we couldn't live with. So he understood that I was against the SAFER grant, which I wasn't, and eventually the SAFER grant got rewritten to our benefit, and then we accepted the SAFER grant and fired the firemen. So he and I talked about it, and he had misunderstood. But as far as the police are concerned, police and fire, I think I have a great relationship with them.
Well, that's almost all the time I've allotted for this interview.
Sure.
I was just wondering if you had anything else you wanted to say to the voters.
I think that I have worked hard for the citizens of Southfield, and that I still have plenty of gas left in my tank to continue to work. In fact, Saturday I was at a homeowners association lunch. They had a picnic, and I picked up 2 or 3 issues that they had, and in fact I was working on one today when I realized that I was late coming to this interview. But I've been working. I already referred one of their concerns to code enforcement, and I have a call in to the attorney for one of the other concerns that they have. She was tied up this morning, so as soon as she and I talk, I'll find out and get back to them about that. But that's kind of my hallmark. When I see people in the grocery store and they say, "Oh, you're a council person. Can you listen to me for a minute? I've got a concern. You know, I'm trying to figure out which jar of peanut butter to buy." But they have a concern, so I stop and listen to their concern and try to take care of it. So I'm here, and I want to continue to work for the citizens of the city of Southfield and make this even a better place than it is.
All right, thanks.
And I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. Okay?
All right.